Hello everyone and welcome to my review of the buildable character Wicket the Ewok. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed today's video and use the timestamps below if you want to skip the unboxing. This set was released on August the 1st of 2025 at an original retail price of $129.99 USD. It is given set number 75430, is rated for ages 12 and up and has 1,010 pieces, which gives this set an original price per piece of 13 cents. They do mark this set as being able to be built by 4 builders at the same time. In my experience with building this set, it doesn't feel like that would be super enjoyable. This set does include a minifigure version of Wicket. On the side of the box, you get the exact same image that is on the front of the box but cropped. Taking a look at the back of the box, we get another look at the primary build, as well as that nice box art of the forest moon of Endor. And then in the top right hand corner, we have the dimensions of the set. Opening up your box is quite an easy experience. Simply cut the 2 pieces of tape holding it closed and pull to reveal the contents of your box. Inside of your box, you will find a total of 12 numbered bags and your instruction manual. And here is your first look at the final product. And I gotta say, just as a first thought, I'm not really loving this one, and we'll do a deep dive on all of my thoughts later, but this video is to help you, the viewer, decide, is this set worth the $160 that they are asking for? Now, just like most buildable characters today, you get a display plaque and minifigure. The display plaque is a printed part and has all of the usual features, as well as a lot of nice information about Wicket himself, and a nice blue hologram-esque image of the build. Then, of course, we do have our Wicket minifigure, and I think he's a pretty good representation of what we see in film in Lego form. He's got a nice specialty molded headpiece that also covers his torso, kind of like a Chewbacca figure, and it's pretty well detailed from the hood to his face, even his little ears. Turning our attention back to the buildable Ewok, this isn't exactly one that blows me away. And it's more to do with what this set doesn't have than what it does have. But I think a good and honest place to start is to start with what it does have. Now, all 3 of these fingers here can actually open up and you can remove this spear. And in the other hand, you have a cookie that falls out if you open the fingers. Now, the spear design is incredibly simplistic, but it definitely gets the job done. And I like the color usages that they have here with the different types of tan, and then with that nice stone gray at the very top. Now, this cookie is just a piece. There's no printing on this thing whatsoever. It is pretty bland. Now, the spear is attached using a Technic axle and a Technic pin, which gives it a pretty secure connection. Now, when it comes to the cookie, it simply gets pinched in between these fingers here. There is nothing actually clicking into place here. It is simply just held in place by some friction. And if you mess with it, it falls right out. On the spring hand, you do have 3 posable fingers that open and close. The arm itself does have a little bit of wiggle to it, but that's just due to how you build it. This is not an intended feature. And the other arm has a similar story where you have 3 different posable fingers. And this arm does have a little bit of intended sway to it, but this is legitimately it. It is kind of depressing how limited the range of motion is on this figure. Turning our attention to his feet, he does have 6 posable toes, 3 on each feet. And for me, this really does nothing when it comes to adding value to this set. When it comes to the ability to display this in a whole bunch of different ways, this does nothing. And then lastly, for the things that move are the ears. And again, I don't think this is intended. It is just solely from the way it's designed. Now, our little furry friend is comprised of a bunch of these little rock pieces here, but in a dark brown color. This is a piece they've used before in order to get that fur effect, and I think it works incredibly well. And the proof is in the pudding. Here, you can see that they use a bunch of them all throughout this figure in order to get that effect, and I think it works well. Now, another technique that they used here is using 2 different color browns in order to get that nice texture and depth that is needed in order to capture the look of fur. Giving you a 360 spin of the lower half of this figure, I think they did a great job with making this thing a display piece. Because if you want to put this thing on the shelf and never touch it, this is perfect. But for me, I like a little bit more posability in my sets than what this offers. Now, the torso area where the hood and belly meet I think is adorable. I love the lighter fur there on his stomach. It's super cute. And they did a pretty good job at capturing the overall look of his hood. This was something I was originally worried about when this set was first rumored, but I think they did a great job. Using Lego bricks to capture the flow of fabric can sometimes be pretty difficult, but I think they knocked it out of the park here. And sure, there are a few places where I wish they used a different color piece so you couldn't see the gapping nearly as bad. I would say that my only complaint about this hood is this flap here. There's a piece keeping it open and it just provides this really funky angle and creates this gap that you see here. Now, if you want to fix that and have it be a bit more flush, just simply remove this piece inside the hood here, take that out, and the hood will sit a lot more seamless than it did before. At least to me, I think this provides a cleaner look. Would it surprise you to learn that the eyes are the most dynamic aspect of this entire buildable figure? That's because these eyes can be removed and be replaced to move the highlight on the eyes to make it look like he's looking in a different direction. And that's a little frustrating to me because the eyes don't even move, but somehow they're the most dynamic aspect of the set. Now the face is absolutely adorable. One of my favorite things is this little button nose here. I think it's super cute and looks really well done. They also did a really good job with incorporating his teeth here. It looks super cute. Now, the mouth doesn't really move. The cheeks don't really move, but the chin area can actually fold down and it looks like something from a horror movie. Don't do this. It looks terrible. The entire time I was reviewing this set and the entire time I was building it, I kept thinking to myself, this reminds me so much of the buildable Chewbacca, which I did a full review on, which you can click the top right hand corner to watch that video later. The primary reason that these figures remind me so much of each other is because neither of them are posable in almost any way, shape, or form. And at least to me, I like to have the freedom to choose how I want to display my buildable figures. Another reason they remind me so much of each other is because of LEGO's attempt to capture the look of fur. They use similar pieces and techniques and different colors in order to get that look just right. And at least to me, I think they succeed in that regard. Another figure I knew I had to put him side by side with is R2-D2, just to get a sense of how close these are to each other in terms of scale. And I regret to inform you that unfortunately these two figures are not in scale to one another. Wicket is just a little too tall in order to be in scale. For reference, here's a still shot image from Return of the Jedi. Now putting this figure next to K2SO, which I just did a video on, and you can also check that one out. If you've watched my video, you know that my primary complaint about K2SO is that he's not nearly as posable as he should be, with only his arms being posable. But K2SO is still way more dynamic than this Ewok. At least he can move his arms more than 1/4 of an inch. Also, keep in mind that K2SO is still $40 cheaper than this buildable Ewok. Now, this set has some serious competition because for only $10 more, you can get possibly the best buildable character that LEGO has ever made, being the battle droid with Stap, which once again I have also covered and you can go check out after this video. The difference in size is absolutely insane to me because what do you mean there's only $10 difference here? Aside from the price, if you took away the Stap, I'd still prefer the B1 Battle Droid just because of how posable that figure is. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but at least for me, one of the most important aspects of a buildable figure is that I get to choose how I display it. At least to me, LEGO has lost their mind charging us $130 for a buildable figure that has absolutely no articulation outside the hands and feet. But with all of that being said, what are my thoughts on this set and is it worth the $130 US? And in my opinion, no, this set is not worth $130 US. I know, shocking, the August wave is overpriced. When this set was originally first rumored, it was rumored to be $90 US, just like K2SO, and I honestly feel like if this was that price, I wouldn't be nearly as upset as I am. Price and articulation aside, this is genuinely a good looking set. It looks great on display. They did a fantastic job when it came to capturing the look of fur, and his face doesn't look like nightmare fuel, so that is a win. The building techniques are fun and interesting and make for an enjoyable build. This isn't a bad set by any means, but it's got some pretty steep competition in the buildable figure department. I give this set a 7 out of 10. Honestly, the articulation really hurt and the price really hurts. But that's all I have to say on this set. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found this video helpful for your purchasing decisions. If you did enjoy or found it helpful, please let me know by leaving a like. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Be sure to join the community Discord. The link is in the description. And until next time, stay bricked up and enjoy what you love.